Good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, I hope you can hear me better today. Uh, Yesterday, we had some difficulties with my audio, and that is because I had moved my computer over to another part of my office here, where it was a little bit warmer, and I had set, well, you don't have to. My computer's okay, okay, and it would have been fine if I would have set it up a little bit higher so the my uh, my in-house microphone wouldn't have been blocked. Okay, so uh, thanks to the miracle of good friends at Arcanum, uh, uh, the people that do my YouTube, they take it all my morning shows that I do in the morning, and by afternoon they release it also on their YouTube channel, the uh, Arcanum Luminarium, and so it's on YouTube every day too. And they heard how bad it sounded, okay, and so they tweaked it and brought up the volume and did their magic on it. So the YouTube version is much clearer and much more audible. And I posted the link to that too yesterday. So if you threw your hands up yesterday and says, I can't understand him, uh, just go to uh, Arcanum Luminarium, Lon Milo DuQuette, and you'll be able to hear yesterday's program, which was damn good. Anyway, I hope you all are probably still eating Thanksgiving leftovers if you're lucky enough uh, to have food. And I'm not joking about that. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk about what I call the Book of You. Now, magical diaries are really important uh, to the kind of the technical career of a modern magician. And most magicians keep a magical record, especially in the first 10 or 15 years of their practice. And after a while, well, you get lazy, and after a while, there are things you don't need to keep track of in exactly the same way. But it's really vitally important to keep a magical record. And somewhere in the volumes of Crowley's advice, uh, he says, "Oh, start by uh, tracing the momentum, the trajectory of your entire life. So start at the beginning when you're a child, and that would suggest that you start with your own biography, your autobiography, or at least autobiographical material. Uh, the great Hindu scripture or epic, the Mahabharata. Okay, the Mahabharata is really, really long, and I confess I've not read the entire Mahabharata. Uh, the section of the Mahabharata that is titled the Bhagavad Gita. Now, that probably rings a bell for many of you because that's the famous discourse by Krishna to Arjuna about pretty much everything. But the Mahabharata is the epic tale, supposedly of India, but it's the allegorical epic tale of humanity and the soul's journey. and it's full of wars, it's full of battles, it's full of gods and pregnant goddesses who uh, gets herself stopped up so that she can't have a baby for aeons and aeons, and finally when it comes out it's a big black ball of it'll be another god. But anyway, it's a wild story. And uh, a few years back, uh, the BBC broadcast uh, a play. Okay, and the play is like in three acts. So what is that? 200 minutes maybe. Uh, Called the Mahabharata, and it was done as a stage play. Okay, and with very few props and international cast. It's a masterpiece. Just Google BBC and Mahabharata and catch it, catch it if you can. And I'm good. It's a spoiler alert. Okay. Well, no, I'm not going to tell you the ending because the ending is so mind blowing. But uh, it was supposedly a poem written by a blind uh, poet, Iyasa, I believe is his name, and because he was blind, he had to dictate it, and to help him with that dictation was the god Ganesha. Ganesha came to be his secretary and write it all down. And in the play, oh, the play starts off so awesome. Uh, a young boy, this in India, a young boy enters in this cave, and there's all these candles lit, and there's incense burning, and it looks so mystical. And the opening is with sitar music. You know how wonderfully exotic and spooky and mysterious that sounds. And he goes deeper and deeper and deeper into this cave, past in different rooms, and thousands of candles are lit and everything else. And he comes up on a meditating yogi, an older man with a beard and uh, whose eyes is closed, but you could tell that he's not dead, and he's lit by this candlelight. And when the boy creeps up on the guy, he opens his eyes, and he doesn't say hello or anything else, but he opens his eyes, and you can tell that he's still blind. So he says, "Can you write?" And the boy says, "No." "Why?" He says, "Because I've written a poem." The boy says, "What's your poem about?" He says, "It's about you and your race and the history of the world." And then all of a sudden, in walks Ganesha. He says, "Oh, I've got it all up here, but I need someone to write it down." And then Ganesha comes walking in the cave from behind. And the boy says, "Ganesha," you know. And he says, "Yes, in the flesh, that's me, Ganesha." He says, "Yes, I hear you're going to write the history of the world." He says, "Allow me to help you." And Ganesha has this big blank book, okay? And it's one of those, ancient Indian books. It's just about that wide. You have to open cover that's that big, and he takes out uh, the pen and says that he's ready. And he also says there's something secret about a beginning. And he says, I don't know where to begin. And Ganesha says, well, since it is the story of you and the beginning of the history of the world or something like that, he says, why don't you start with yourself? And that's what I want to talk to you just for a moment this morning about. Now, all of you listening to me are not likely to, start a diary or start an autobiography. But you should. Physicists, we now know it's a cliche now that that the result of an experiment varies whether or not the factors of the experiment are being observed or if they're not. Okay, they shoot a particle through something and it can either appear as a particle or a wave or something. But when they look at it expecting it to be a wave, it becomes a wave. And if they look at it expecting it to be a particle, it's a particle. Observation links you in to the magic of the now, into the magic of existence. And I regret to say, to my great sorrow, a great many of us go through life without observing our own life. We think we're observing it, but no, we're just reacting to everything. Just like a litmus paper reacts to acid or alkaline, and we call that observation. No. We don't know ourselves until we start to observe ourselves. And a magician isn't somebody that does something here or does something there or has intent to do something there. So, no, the magician starts out simply by observing the magician. And in doing so, the entire conditions of the experiment of life changes. That's why the diary is important. Now, I wrote My Life with the Spirits quite a while ago. Okay, I was a pretty young man actually when I wrote it. 1999 was My Life with the Spirits. And by I've been keeping diaries since about 1975 at that time. So I wasn't a stranger to magical diaries. And when my publisher had done a couple books with Weiser, and they encouraged me to write another book and said, well, we'll publish it if you write it, kind of thing. And so I thought for a while, and I got out my diaries and things like that, and because I'm not the world's greatest scholar or expert on anything, okay. And then we saw that Mahabharata, and when Ganesha said, "Why don't you start with yourself?" That's truly when I began to observe myself, observe my existence. And so I said, I'm going to start with myself. I'm going to write about my life with the spirits. And in doing so, I had to do what Crowley suggested, start at the beginning. So I start at the beginning. I'm a baby, I'm a child, I grow up, I do this, I do that. And it served to put things in perspective to me personally. Because we're all riding a rocket ship, okay? Like Slim Pickens in Doctor Strangelove, we're riding a rocket, okay? And we think we're standing still. And we're riding a rocket and we don't know where it blasted off from. We don't know where it's pointed. And because we're going the same speed as the rocket, we don't even feel it moving. So what I'm going to suggest to you on this Saturday morning cartoons is if you're keeping a magical diary, fine, good. Don't stop for your magical diary. But include in your magical diary from perhaps today your story, your life with the spirits. Start with yourself, because just as Iyasa, as a fictional, allegorical, mythological character, was writing a biography of the history of the race, he said. Everybody's history. The history of existence is what he's talking about. That means when writing about himself, he's writing about everything. We carry the DNA of existence itself in us. And to trigger that DNA, all we have to do is pull the trigger of our own self-observation. I know that's kind of short for today, but that's it. Here's looking at you. Until Sunday school and tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.